Hey girl, Marissa here. You are listening to the Codependent Dummy podcast. As a young woman, you have been raised, reinforced, and rewarded for putting the needs of others above your own. Now, in your 20s, you're finding yourself exhausted, exasperated, and enveloped in shit relationships, especially the one you have with yourself. Codependency is a way of being where we put the feelings, wants, and needs of others above our own in an unconscious attempt to meet our own feelings, wants, and needs. Sorry to break it to you, sis, but that is not sustainable. This podcast is to help you undo all that so you can stop playing small and start taking up space, you dummy. Let's get to it. Hey girl, hey. Today we are going to be talking about how codependents are full of shit. Or how Yoda would say, full of shit codependents are. I can't do a Yoda impression. I apologize for that. Stick with me, dear listener. I'm going to be answering and covering the following points. First, how and why do codependents lie, omit, or evade telling the truth in order to maintain others' approval, attention, and affection? 2, how do our efforts to, quote, save face, end quote, really lead us to behave ugly? 3, what's the cost of being inauthentic, fake in our relationships with ourselves and others? And last, why looking at your motives, our motives, when it comes to telling the truth is most important. Before that, let's check in. How are you doing, baby girl? How's your day? How's your hour? How's your day? How's your week? How's your month? How's your year? Just reflecting. Let's take a breath. Let's do one more. I forget to breathe sometimes. I'm sure you do too. So, just wanted to do that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking this hour-ish of your week. I'd like to welcome some new listeners. We have some new listeners from Japan, Kenya, Estonia, and the Czech Republic. So welcome to you listeners. And for those of you who are loving the podcast, keep listening, keep sharing the episodes that resonate most with you. You are helping me achieve my mission to empower you all to stop playing small and start taking up space. Today is episode 36. We are also marking 7 months of the Codependent Dummy podcast. So go us. And now, without further ado, full of shit, we are episode. And I've broken this into 3 parts and a conclusion. So part 1. Why do codependents lie? In her book, Codependent No More, which is a classic for us codependents, Melody Beattie spells out codependent characteristics, including poor communication. Our communication as codependents, at times, or most of the time, is poor, difficult, and ineffective. Underneath the umbrella of poor communication, Melody lists 31 traits. For example, codependents blame in our communication, threaten in our communication, and beg. Those are some traits. For this episode on lying, I want to highlight the following traits of poor communication, where Melody writes, codependents frequently A, try to say what they think will please people. B, lie to protect and cover up for people they love. And C, lie to protect themselves. Where did you learn to lie, baby girl? That is the question I hope you ponder as I work through this segment. Fun fact, according to the author of the TED Talk, which I didn't look up, but it was about the truth about lying, we lie to others and ourselves 10 to 200 times per day. Okay, so lying is a fact, a truth, an honest part of life. You likely have had a or multiple experiences where unconsciously you learned it's more important to say what will please others instead of displease others, to lie instead of tell the truth to protect and cover up for the people you love, and to lie rather than tell the truth to protect yourself. What comes to mind? So, like many children, I learned to lie to avoid getting into trouble, to maintain a certain reputation, status, perception by others as a good, responsible, lovable girl. And I also learned to lie to protect those I cared about, especially my parents and my sisters. It was not conscious, but my actions indicated underlying the lies I told, those were the intentions, right? What I was trying to maintain, to keep. An example of lying to protect and cover up for the people I loved. Back in 5th-ish grade, so about 10, 11 years old, my family, we got a call that one of my best friends, her mom called to tell us she had lice. It's like, oh. My mom, being a school nurse, called my twin sister and I into the bathroom where she checked our heads for lice. I believe we had just spent time with my best friend, and there was a chance that we could have gotten lice from her too. I remember my mom, she brushed our hair and she parted our hair in the hot spots, zones where I sense lice tends to hang out, like the back lower part of your head. I think, they can be at the forefront and on your forehead, but they tend to hang out in like the darker, shadowy parts. And I remember she brushed our hair and she looked and nothing. We were good to go. And so we went to school that day while my best friend stayed home following some head lice protocol so she wouldn't spread it to other classmates. So at school, the school nurse called me and my sister to the office as part of protocol, right? We're in the friend group of my best friend. And I remember very clearly getting to the office and saying in so many words, "My mom checked my head this morning and I don't have lice. She's a school nurse too. She checked my head and nope, no lice. You guys can check my head, but you're not going to find anything," along those lines. And what do you know, dear listener? My twin sister and I both had lice. And I remember going home and my mom washing our hair, some type of lice product. You know, I remember her like pulling the little bugs off my scalp into the sink. I remember seeing them. And she said, "Marissa," right? I shared this story like, "Oh yeah, I skipped to the office. I assured them that you had checked my hair for lice, Mom, and then they found it." How ironic, I sense, is what I was trying to convey. And I remember she said, "Marissa, don't tell them that I checked your head again." And I was like, okay. In all communication, there is what is said and what is conveyed. There's also what is said from one person, what is conveyed to the other, right? What is spoken and what is perceived. Unintentionally, in that moment, I heard my mom say, "Do not embarrass me. Do not publicize my error. Do not admit, highlight my mistake. Keep that to yourself." And being 10, I also sensed on an unconscious level, if I'm honest in situations like this, where my mom has made a mistake, it's best to keep that to myself to maintain her approval, right? Protect her, protect myself. I'm 10. She is my source, my protector, my mother. Mom, since you're listening, just want to say I'm not blaming you. That was not your intent. There's a difference between blaming and being at fault. Unintentionally, you conveyed that, and now at 33, it's my responsibility to follow or not follow that message, or discern if and when it's applicable, as opposed to using it all the time, right? So Mom, okay. I believe that in my codependency, right, my perception, what was conveyed to me through incidents like this, I took these moments, I internalized these moments, these messages as rules. I took them and I ran with them and applied them to all situations when they really were very unique and specific. And I did it to avoid abandonment, either physically or psychically, which is almost like mental. My mom, I know she never would have left me for outing her mistake, but maybe she would disprove. And to a 10-year-old, having your mother disprove of you, that's a psychic death. That's scary. It's not a psychic death. It's a psychic abandonment. Like, oh. And maybe she wouldn't be as warm, as favoring the next week. That's an eternity to a 10-year-old. So, budding codependent that I concluded lie or omit to other adults to protect those I care about. Right? My mom, I sense that, oh, my mom will approve of me omitting mistakes. Not conscious. The conclusions of a 10-year-old budding codependent. Do you have any memories learning to lie, learning to omit? Who was involved? What conclusions did you come to that you then applied over and over and over? Right? We lie to please others. We lie to protect and cover for those we love. And we lie to protect ourselves because we learned that that's how we interact with others. Part 2. How do our efforts to save face lead us to behave in ugly ways? For everyone, including our international listeners, the metaphor, idiom, saving face, it means to avoid humiliation or embarrassment, preserve dignity, as in, for example, rather than fire her outright, they let her save face by resigning. The phrase, which uses face in the sense of outward appearances, right? So, how do our efforts to save our outward appearance lead us to behave in ugly ways? The main anecdote I am focusing on today, and where most of my codependent lies stem from, demonstrates a combination of two traits from Melody Beattie, right? I say what I sense will please others, and I lie to protect myself. Most of my codependent lies are a combination of those two. It was my junior year of high school. I went on a trip with my favorite teacher and about 15 classmates for my environmental studies class, AP class, advanced placement. He was my favorite teacher and I was his favorite student. And I sensed he put me up on a pedestal and I very much enjoyed the view. That school year, I had aced all of the tests. I did well on the advanced placement exam, right? So I got college credit thanks to his class. I became vegetarian. I lowered our home's electricity bill. My codependency is evident in my academic performance, especially in his class, because I did what I could to maintain my teacher's approval. Like, we'll have more episodes about codependency in school and how mine was really reinforced by all this approval and accolades. We went on this trip, and one night a male peer stole alcohol. There was a bar or something where we were staying, and a group of fellow junior students, my classmates and I, we drank together. We were underage, we were on a school trip, and the liquor had been stolen. Lots of rules were broken when I was offered a red cup with vodka and juice in it, and I made the decision to drink it. The next day, I was informed that the hotel staff had alerted my teacher that 2 bottles of vodka had been stolen, and nobody else where we were staying, honestly, like nobody else would have stolen that besides a group of teenage Americans. And my teacher confronted the boys. I sensed there was an assumption that the boys had done it. And in an effort to A, please my teacher, and B, protect myself, I proceeded to do and say what I could to do that. It was like I crouched down, I grabbed hold of my pedestal, and despite some wind blowing and maybe some stormy weather that risked me being toppled over, pushed down, I grabbed my pedestal and I held on as hard as I could to not fall. I did not want to fall from that. Right? In order to save face, I engaged in ugly behavior. I lied to my twin sister and friends on the trip about my drinking. I was like, what? No, I didn't drink. I colluded with other students who drank but agreed we would lie to avoid getting caught. So there was like a core group who I don't sense there was any way that they could get around it. They really, there was. I think some students actually had been drinking or drank multiple nights. So there was this core group who got caught, and then there were a couple of us in the periphery who, I drank a cup, other people drank a cup or couple cups. So I colluded with this peripheral circle to avoid being caught, and they too being caught. And I ultimately avoided being suspended, while a handful, right, this core group of students who did get caught were confirmed caught. They were suspended, and I evaded that punishment thanks to omitting my truth. The ugliest moment was when during a lunch hour, right, we flew back to the States. Our school began an investigation, which I don't believe I was even part of because I was assumed innocent. And my teacher, he had, I think I had his class right before lunch, and I stayed after and talked with him, and he shared with me about what he was dealing with from the school administrators and the parents involved. And I remember I nodded along sympathetically with his stress, and all the while in the back of my head, right, I was thinking, Mr. Teacher, I drank too. I'm not the perfect student who you thought I was. I'm a lying, manipulative little girl. I don't know if I was thinking that clearly. Maybe semi-consciously. The guilt, the shame was there. I did not feel in alignment with my actions and my internal thoughts. It was also ugly when I omitted to my parents, my sisters, and others. We talked about it. We heard the outcome. We witnessed the aftermath, and I just sat in those conversations, keeping my truth to myself. I clung to that pedestal since I didn't want to displace them, and I needed to protect myself. Those are two of our goals, two of our motives if and when we lie as codependents. Part 3, what's the cost of being inauthentic, of being ingenuine in our relationships? No matter what we do, baby girl, lying or being honest, there is an emotional cost. Sometimes there's a physical cost or a spiritual cost. I brought up this incident in therapy this past week. I was sharing with my therapist, just reflecting on the incident, and my therapist normalized there's a cost to everything, good and bad. I agree, Mr. Therapist, and upon further reflection, my sense is yes, there is a cost to everything, including honesty, but in my experience, lying has cost me more. Speaking in monetary metaphors, if telling the truth costs me a metaphorical $25, okay, I'm out $25. There is some fear in being authentic, transparent, assertive. Yes. For me, lying costs me metaphorically, right? Being honest, $25. Lying, $250. I sense it costs me at least 10 times. I already feel guilty, I already feel ashamed, I already feel unlovable. So adding any evidence for why I deserve to feel that way, the weight. It weighs heavier, it costs more. The cost of lying about drinking on this trip was the fact that I furthered my sense of aloneness. Being on top of a pedestal is quite isolating. And I unintentionally added distance between the ground and where I was. And, I clung and I maintained this sense of perfection, of being a good student, of being a good girl, but I wasn't. And I felt lonelier atop the pedestal. I also added distance between myself and my loved ones, my twin sister. We were very close, arguably codependent. We fell asleep side by side, sharing secrets, and we drove to and from school together. We were together all the time, and there's this huge secret I'm keeping from her. And another cost was I walked around with a target on my back. a year and a half after the incident, I remember sitting in a sociology class in college, and we did an exercise where we wrote out on a piece of paper a secret we had been keeping. And there was never any chance that the secrets being written would ever come back to us. I think there were just too many students, and it was an activity. I remember someone wrote, "I'm gay." We're like, "Oh." And someone wrote, "I'm a virgin." We're like, "Oh." And my secret, I wrote, "I drank on a school trip and never got caught. Other people got suspended and I didn't." Right? That was my big secret at 18 years old. But it was my big secret at 18-year-old. I'm a fraud. I'm a fake. If I had been honest about that and gotten suspended, I might not even be in this class. I might not be at this school. Right? It cost me. I thought about it. I felt about it. In my efforts to be pleasing to others and protect myself and the image they had of me, I got lonelier. I leaned on substances, food, masochistic behavior to keep my truth in, to keep my truth down, and simultaneously punish myself. For that and a bunch of other things I lied about. This was just a big one, right? And a pie chart of the lies that weigh heaviest on my heart. This lie in particular took up a big portion of the pie chart. What price do you sense you're paying due to your inauthenticity, ingenuineness, or being fake in your relationships? And what behaviors are you engaging in to compensate for that? Again, I sense I ate over the loneliness. I drank since I felt distant from others, and I hurt myself because I felt so guilty. What price are you paying? So to conclude, we are not entirely full of shit. Okay, that's just what I titled the episode. We keep shit in to please others, to protect and cover for those we love, and to protect ourselves. But it's at a cost. I would encourage you to look at if you are lying, omitting, or evading the truth, what are your underlying motives? If you are saving face, but engaged in ugly behaviors, what is the cost to you and your relationships? And I believe I just said this, if you're being authentic, is it worth it? Is the cost worth it? By answering those questions, you truly can decide if you want to keep lying, or discern, you know what? No, I want to be honest here. Truth is not a one-size-fits-all principle, okay? It's not. Even this past week, I was sharing in therapy how I had an opportunity to be radically transparent with someone, and I decided to be politely transparent. So if you decide to lie, omit, or evade the truth, in certain situations, that's okay. But if you lie solely to please others, to protect others and yourself, eventually you will be full of shit and it's not sustainable, baby girl. Just because my mom conveyed, don't admit my mistake or mistakes in general, which I think I took her message and ran with it. I don't have to apply that for the remainder of my life. I can discern if and when being honest or lying is best. I can take time to question my lies, my omissions. To conclude the narrative, the anecdote, around the age of 22, I emailed my teacher and admitted I lied to him, I drank on the trip, and I was so sorry. I believe it was that year or the next, he wrote a letter of recommendation for me for schools, for colleges. And I appealed to a school I didn't get into, and he wrote me another letter to help me get in. He stayed in touch thanks to working out at the same gym as my parents. And it was evident for the years between the trip and my email that I sent to him that my pedestal had been maintained. He adored me. I risked his adoration in order to be honest with him. I no longer wanted to protect myself. I no longer wanted to please him. I wanted to get down from my pedestal. It's just so lonely up there. I was terrified. And after I clicked send, I avoided checking my email like the plague for some time. And in response, I received the kindest, most compassionate, and forgiving email. He thanked me for my honesty. He normalized that when we're in social situations, we don't always make the best choice. I don't have the email anymore, but I do recall something about peer pressure, social pressure. He alluded, it happens. And in our interactions after that, he has offered nothing but warmth. So I did not die. I was not abandoned physically or psychically by him. So I just made a face wanting to encourage you to do the same. I sense hoping that that'll be your same experience, but maybe part of me hesitates. So this week, my dear, sweet codependent dummy, your homework is to write a letter to the person you want to come clean to. Is there a lie, an omission, a truth you're not telling? Write about it. You don't have to send the letter. You just have to write it. And if after a week of reflection and meditation, you ultimately decide, I can send it, send it. And if very intuitively you discern, it's best I keep this to myself, keep it to yourself. You aren't full of shit. You've just concluded that up to this moment, it's best not to say shit. But moving forward, I hope you understand you have more than that one option. This is Marissa, your hostess mostest. Going to sign off, and you're going to hear an update from Nathan, a recent Codependent Dilemma guest. He has an update for us on how it's going now that he's been doing the self-validation challenge for 60 days. Yes, 60. It's unedited. I'm just adding it here at the end. So once this episode airs, I'll hear it for the first time with all of you to really honor and respect Nathan's truth. So if you want to complete your own 30-day self-validation challenge, you can listen to Nathan's episode with me, which aired on June 21st of 2021, and our mini-sode that aired on July 21st, 2021 for details. So till next time, please remember, if you are feeling unseen, I see you. If you are feeling unheard, I hear you. And if you think that you don't matter, know that you matter to me. I want you to go out there so you can stop playing small and start taking up space. Take care.
Hey everyone, it's Nathan. As we have reached the 60-day mark on the self-validation challenge, Marissa had asked me to talk about how it's going. So after 60 days of self-validation, I feel like a completely different person. It's crazy. Like I feel so much more positive and optimistic about life and who I am and what I can accomplish without needing and relying upon the validation or approval from others. It has led to a lot of great things in my life and has actually led me to helping other people and attracting other positive and happy people in my life, which I love. I feel like it has gotten easier to self-validate at the end of each day. It is something I look forward to and a practice that I just do every day now. Like it's pretty much routine at this point. Admittedly, there have been a couple days that I've missed here and there, but instead of beating myself over it, I know that the next day I will have even more to talk about and validate. The main theme that I've noticed over the past 60 days are mainly focused on work. In the beginning, I felt that maybe I wasn't that confident or good enough at my new job, and that I really need to focus on every small win at work. And over time, and after many self-validation calls, I felt more and more confident, and I'm so proud of myself and where I've come. I'm taking on even more at work and feel way more confident and comfortable in the new role. So for anyone who is still considering whether they should try the self-validation challenge, I say do it. There's literally nothing to lose and everything to gain. It has really helped me to get out of being so codependent and negative. It has changed and helped me become the person I want to be, and has led me to having the right people in my life. I highly recommend doing it, and it's totally okay if you miss a day or two, because all that means is that your next self-validation call or check-in will be even longer, and you'll have much more to reflect and talk about. You can do it. I believe in you. I want to say a big thank you to Marissa again for creating and starting this challenge and this podcast. It's helped me, and I'm sure it's helped all of you as well. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone for listening. Take care, and you got this.
And now, the disclaimer. Girl, this is not therapy, and I am not your therapist. This podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regards to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, publisher, or guests are rendering any legal, clinical, or other professional service. If you want or need a professional, please find one.